Welcome, everyone, to Beauty and the Surgeon podcast. I'm Amy. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner, and I'm joined today by my thankfully in real life co-host, merry Dr. Martin.
I'm here.
Oh, that was rough. Nils and I held it down last week with you and the bobblehead, but oh my goodness, am I glad you're back, Dr. Martin. And you are back for the absolute best episode of the entire year.
The bobblehead, excuse me, is expensive. He's expensive. It costs a lot of money to hire, but man, he sure saves me a lot of work.
He was silent. So if you did not listen to our episode on December 1st, I really appreciate everyone who did listen and left positive feedback, broke down the recap of what my best year of your life challenge was, and kind of just talked about body image in general. So thank you everyone for hanging with me last week or 2 weeks ago and for having a bobblehead here, but just know that that's not normal. And Dr. Martin is back, and I'm so happy for it. So,
I didn't leave town.
Yeah. If you are listening to this podcast, you'd like to watch it, which I highly, highly recommend. This is the top 5 moments of 2023 because it is December 15th and this year is quickly fading away from us. It is my favorite episode of the year, and we will show video clips of all of these.
It's both of our favorites. Nils' favorite.
So you can find us all of our social media handles here below at Jason Martin MD, and on YouTube at Jason Martin MD, and on Instagram at Beauty and the Surgeon Podcast.
So exciting.
I really
contain my excitement.
Every year, I think there's a Frasier episode when they'd all gotten dressed up in tuxes for like New Year's. And of course, like Frasier episodes where there was just all kinds of kerfuffles until they realize that they're close to like the international or the time change. So they're all trying to like drive to like race the thing. And I feel like that's this episode. Like we need to be like in fancy gear, like just, rushing toward the end of the year.
Yes.
Yeah. And with champagne.
I'll wear a tuxedo next year. I think I will.
We said that last year.
I have one. I told you that.
I have pretty dresses. So maybe next year we'll really blow it out. It's always
Nils has t-shirts. Don't worry about it.
We always record this episode on a day when we're in clinic. So it's, it just doesn't make sense to change out into a ball gown, but next year maybe.
Next year I'll wear a tuxedo to the clinic.
All right. So Nils has told me that mine are first. So we're going to start off with my number 5. So this is
not a competition. We've done this so many times. We're just happy to see each other. We used to compete, right? But I have never been the competitive one. So without further ado, here is my number 5. Let's get back into our questions from listeners. This one is from YouTube David, not Dave, not YouTube Dave. This is not medical student Dave. But this was such a great question. What are your thoughts on the incisionless otoplasty to bend back the upper helix area? And I did answer this, David. But I thought this was such a great question because, what I succinctly said to him was that absolutely, if you have a very mild need for an adjustment, yes, that suture, the only issue is when you're doing it, in a very minor ways, it could be visible. The type of suture we use could be visible through the skin. So, Dr. Martin, what are your thoughts on that? Well, there's for a standard otoplasty, we make an incision in the back of the ear. We open, expose everything. We do these suture techniques, like one of them's Mustardi, Mustarde. You can look that up. As a French dude, not alive. Nobody's alive anymore that created all these surgeries, Amy.
Well, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
These old anatomists, it's like trying to find Cooper, who named the Cooper's ligaments.
Yeah.
Like these people don't exist.
We do conchal sutures and, a lot of these suture techniques. And you can even do abrasion techniques on the cartilage just to reform the ear. And then in the conchal, the bowl, the area of your ear, if you go into behind your ear and you feel that kind of fullness of the cartilage behind, that's the conchal area. You can take that out and suture it down. But I will tell you that, there's different ways to do it depending on the presentation and exactly what Amy just said. And you don't always have to do these suturing techniques. You don't have to do these open incisional techniques. There are, small incisions you can make and do some abrasive techniques on the cartilage itself to result in the outcome you want. And it's rarely the prominence of the ear or the angle from your head to the ear itself. It's more related to the upper part of the ear, which is called what, Amy? The helix, right? So the helix...
upper helix.
Oh, is that what you said? Okay. I didn't even read the question.
Or listen to me read it.
Which, by the way, was half my problem in standardized tests. I'm like, I know the answer. Okay, B. In the upper helix area, there's cartilage ridges there that have names. I'm not going to go into all that stuff, but that can be effaced or not developed over time. And that can lead to the upper ear being more prominent. And you can actually create those ridges with sutures or with other techniques. And I think that's what he's referring to. So there is no no incision otoplasty. There's going to be some sort of invasive structure
I know. So I think people think like there's no incision if all you've made is a very small incision.
Right.
I mean, could you make a little teeny tiny poke incision?
Is there something that David's referring to, like a new technique where they do something external?
No, they call it incisionless otoplasty. All they're doing is putting suture in. I
Yeah.
mean, they're still making a tiny little hole, but they're not, I mean, this is what I mean. This is where people, it's like you call liposuction incisionless.
Right.
Is there still a way to access the body? Yes.
Yeah.
So is that technically an incision? Yes.
Right. So you can do it with, if I'm inferring from what this question means, like you can do it with suture material, or the classic way is actually to make a really small stab incision and stick a device in where you kind of really braid or thin down that cartilage in the area that you want it to turn or shape, and which would be along the normal folds of the cartilage that should be there, which usually are not, with prominent helixes. So yeah, it's an interesting question. I have no problems with that. It just depends on your presentation. If you have a problematic angle from the ear to the head, okay, how far your total ear sticks out from your head. Normally that's a little more acute if that's a real prominent angle, right? So you're looking at yourself, then some sort of less invasive technique or not, quote unquote, non-incisional technique is not going to be enough.
Yeah. It's so true. And my cue in here was bend back. I mean, if you truly have like almost like the Elfier deformity where it's like completely bent forward, like you're never going to bend that back with just sutures.
There's tons of different deformities. This question would actually be better if we had a bunch of plastic surgeons sitting around. We could trade stall ear deformity. There's like literally 10 of them.
Your ears are pretty awesome. So great question, David.
I feel like we're looking at the stars, thinking about philosophy and the history of the world.
And the ear.
Did you remember when you were young and everything was so amazing?
It is. It kind of is, though.
I wonder what that planet. How far away is that? It's so amazing. I still think that about the middle ear.
That's because we actually have to think about those things. See,
now,
people don't have to think
anymore. When it comes to the
anymore.
external stuff that I work on, I'm like, yeah, whatever. Great skin. Okay.
That ear is pretty cool.
Yeah, ear's cool.
Yeah. So I loved this clip just because actually at one point I had every single question from this as one of my, like I would just, I'd listen to the episode again, like, no, that's the one for the top 5. Because there was a great question about healing at altitude. There was a question about surgery after lymph node removal. And then I just loved the way that you talked about the parts of the ear. I mean, it really is. I mean, we don't really spend a lot of time thinking about what the ear does, but I mean, it really is amazing. Like the shape is there for a reason. It's one of the most amazing
structures in our body.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, and I, like having gone through vertigo again recently, I mean, it really makes you understand that this ear is not just there for show.
Totally.
It's doing things.
Yeah.
But I loved that clip, Dr. Wright. I thought it was just such a great way of describing the surgery, the parts of the ear, the everything.
I mean, the fun parts of this also are the information that we give and the knowledge that we have, both you and I, and being able to talk about that in a way that's like engaging and interesting. So that makes this fun. I mean, you and I are passionate about plastic surgery. So being able to talk about those things that are in the minutia, but I actually enjoyed watching that also.
I did too. That's why it was
my
number 5.
I usually hate watching myself. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, now, Dr. Martin, it's your number 5. Do you have a lead in?
What? Let me check real quick, Amy. I think.
You don't have to. I mean, mine, I'm just.
You know what? Yeah. My number 5 is super special, and we're going to start that now.
Okay.
I got one gala to go to this weekend, and then after that, I'm going for Halloween planning.
Oh, it's not a Halloween gala.
No, it's
okay. Unrelated.
Very
gala.
fancy.
You just wanted to throw out there that you're a very
I go to
important
galas.
person.
I go to galas.
Gala. Do you have many leather-bound books?
Yeah, I do.
You run Burgundy.
I do.
Does your home smell of rich mahogany?
Yes, it does. And I wear robes.
Yes. Well,
silk robes, by the way.
We've gotten into Ron Burgundy again, which is where I tend to go in this podcast.
That's all you go to is 90s or Ron Burgundy, or 80s, 90s Ron Burgundy. It's
more about just looking at like the bad PR maybe that plastic surgery gets. That we're not going to be like talking about Bosch, not flashing up pictures of of celebrities and talking about what bad plastic surgery they've had. It's not like
which
that.
Which is like everything on YouTube about plastic surgery. It's either botched or what a celebrity's doing.
Yeah.
Which is fine and it's entertaining, but that's not really helpful for patients who are considering plastic surgery.
No, not helpful at all. So,
which, by the way, everyone asks me, "Do you watch Botched?" And the answer is, I don't.
No, it's like being at work on a bed.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Whatever your job is, you're going to watch a show that exemplifies all the bad part of your job.
Seriously,
no.
I think about that with that show, the baggage handler one, or the TSA one. I'm like, my goodness, those people are.
Yeah. What is really going on out there? The people are actually doing procedures and surgeries, and they're not really well trained to do those. So And why are they doing that? Money. This all comes down to money and to growing whatever businesses they have. You can go to people that aren't well trained that end up doing a good treatment or surgery on you, and that definitely happens. But the odds are that you're probably not going to have a great outcome. If you go to someone who's board certified, who's a plastic surgeon, well trained and experienced, the odds are you're going to have a good outcome. And that's the truth. But ethics themselves are a difficult discussion. I mean, as we know with literally our culture and our life in our country, that ethics are a real problem right now, and honesty and what you are and what you're doing.
You know, people get in this place where like, oh, well, I chose this, that I should somehow have to suffer or deal with excess pain because I chose to have this surgery. Like, that's not realistic. Also, trying to pretend like you're not in pain because you chose this. It's like trying to pretend like you're not sick.
Right.
Right.
I did that in Portugal. It didn't work out well.
It doesn't work. Yeah. Like, you know, accepting that, like,
at one point I was on a steps and I couldn't breathe. And my daughter was like, you're sick. You've never been like this before.
Yeah. Like, go home. You're sick.
I was like, I'm not sick. Don't tell your mom. When you have expectations on something like plastic surgery, they should be really focused in on exactly what you're doing. You're going to take your breast and make it this much better. You're going to make the contour that much better. You're going to make the contour of the belly that much better. And the butterfly effect of that is great, but that's not guaranteed, right? So you have one job, a very definitive job, focused job to make these things better, whatever we're doing that day.
Well, and even when you have a very ethical surgeon,
it sucks.
Says things to you like,
it'd be a lot easier if I wasn't.
You know, we can say to patients, you are an excellent candidate for this procedure. Here's what you can expect.
Right.
There are times when we do say to someone, you know, you are not a great candidate for this procedure, and this is why. Now, we say that, and they might hear that, but then all these things start filtering back in. Here comes the selfie culture, here comes the FOMO, and they go find some other doctor who's claiming that the liposuction that they do is going to take the place of the tummy tuck that we told them they need.
Yeah.
And then they have the expectation, then they think they're botched. Then, you know, all these things go back into social influence and self-perception, and people get in the shame spiral. So the dark side of plastic surgery that includes these 3/4 things is dark, right? It is. And we try to, you know, rise above it, but we are also part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's weird to be a lighthouse and your foundation's a little bit shaky.
Like, we are not going to claim we're not part of this.
No, I know.
The dark side does exist, and that's why we felt like we need to talk about it today. Because I think people don't really understand the complexity of why there is a dark side of plastic surgery. It's not just terrible surgeons. It's not just, you know, like it's so many things.
I think a big part of it is you follow the money. You know, that's really what it comes down to. And that's like this with most things in our life. You know, if you follow the money, it's kind of end up in some dark area at some point.
Cash rules everything around me.
Dollar bills, y'all.
Cream, get the money.
Yeah, Wu-Tang.
All right.
Wu-Tang is for the children.
So while we Wu-Tang it out, Wu-Tang is for the children. I always seriously feel like I'm like a Saturday Night Live skit when like we do like a reference like Wu-Tang, and then I'm like, okay, kids. Like, I'm like,
I literally was telling a fellow about ODB, right? Wu-Tang is for the children. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't really know.
He didn't know.
And I was like, dude, you need to
ask your parents.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we're old. I think that's where we're going. They're like, oh my gosh, we're old.
Yeah. I had to throw the last part of the Wu-Tang is for the children in there.
Yes.
I love that episode. I love your contribution to it, like the FOMO and the selfie culture and stuff. You're so eloquent when you talk about that, and it makes people feel it made me feel better hearing you talk about that. So
it's a popular episode too.
Yeah.
I
know, and I think it's something that people should really watch before they consider doing plastic surgery, so they understand like this mindset they're in, so they make really smart decisions that are good for them, as opposed to doing it out of fear or the bad feelings. So
yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, okay, that was great.
Right. The future picks aren't as long. I just want to tell you that. I know this frustrates Amy. She's very efficient.
Doesn't frustrate me. No, I like listening to him.
She's like a Swiss engineer for a train.
I do just think you cannot choose a whole episode because we'd be here all day.
If I want to, I want to.
Like, my number 4 is episode. Yeah. All right. So we found out from Nils that, ironically enough, with all of the episodes we had to choose from this year, Dr. Martin and I actually chose the same number 4 clip.
Because that's where we are now in our lives.
Yeah. Which is,
we're like an old married couple.
It's so shocking because I went back and forth on a lot of mine over the course of the year.
I don't even remember what our 4 was.
So the fact that we had a joint number 4, I just found so surprising, and I have not. So let's hear our joint number 4.
What are we talking about,
Patrick's Day at
Amy?
all?
What are we talking
Today
about?
we are continuing our myth busting series, and we were talking about brachioplasty myths, which is arm lift myths. But arm lift myths is harder to say than brachioplasty myths.
Arm lift
myths. So yeah, so we have 10 myths to go over today. It's hard to say.
You said it slowly, didn't you?
Yeah, right.
No, I didn't even get it right. I said mist.
And you were thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like myths. So let's jump right in.
I think an arm lift mists doesn't sound good. It doesn't seem like it would smell very good
sounds
either.
messy.
Yeah.
So you have sick arms. I was watching one of our videos back, and there's actually Nils used a clip of us flexing in one of our tile slides. Yeah. And I'm like, man, that's so unfair to have to flex next to you. It's not fair at all.
I don't agree that I have sick arms, but I mean that's a little bit unfair. I mean, you're a female and I'm male, so our physiologic makeup is a little bit different.
Yeah, but your arms are much bigger than mine, and it's so unfair.
All right.
I have serious bicep
Everyone
envy.
calm down. Okay.
Yeah. So
we're not making our money off of your arms or my arms.
No.
Yeah.
But my point is that the scar is hidden, and if people do see your scar, the thing they jump to is not, wow, that person had a brachioplasty, and who cares if it was?
I cannot remember a patient that we've done a brachioplasty on come in and say that I'm really upset with the scars or tell us a story about how they were embarrassed, et cetera, et cetera. Secondly, who is looking at people's scars? Like who is doing that?
Yep.
When you talk to people, you look at their eyes, their face. I mean, I never scan people's bodies to check out like what surgical scars they have. And I'm a surgeon.
Somebody says like, oh my gosh, what happened? Just say I had surgery.
Yeah.
And if they want to keep talking about it, you don't have to keep talking about it with them. Like
it's your business.
Exactly.
It's your BIZ-ness.
Yes. So that's busted. You will not still have to hide your arms.
Should we? Who's saying busted?
You are, because that's your thing.
Okay. Busted.
He's like,
I don't want to steal the thunder.
No, that's your thing. Number 2.
But you're my coworker. You know, it should share.
The busted thing is yours.
All right.
So what is this myth?
Amy, I'm going to say this myth is...
See, it's hard.
You have infected my brain.
This is so much fun.
I'm going to say this myth is busted.
Busted. Like this one, I feel like we don't need to belabor the point. Don't do it. Get a consultation with
I
the
know, but that's my flair.
surgeon.
I have a theatrical flair when I say busted.
Oh, no, that part I'm saying, yeah, like let's just, my point is like liposuction is not the thing.
It's not the
moving
thing.
on.
Yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
Later, see you at liposuction.
Right, see you liposuction.
We're going on to brachioplasty.
Liposuction out.
Just my delivery now is just so much better than the first myth busting episode.
Yeah.
Why am I struggling to say myth? I don't have word problems.
Oh,
you are like a virus.
This is so satisfying. I'll tell you this, Dr. Martin. I've been a woman my entire life. I've never thought that my arms were swollen with my cycle ever.
It's
Not
good
once.
that your N of one has described all female experience.
Or have I ever had one of my friends be like, oh my gosh, I'm so arm bloated today.
Okay, well, I would take that from you.
Look at my bloated arms.
I would take that from you if you had a lot of friends.
My
to
uterus
reference.
is so bloated that it's showing in my arms. You're right. None of my friends are women.
Yeah,
so.
that's true.
Yeah, they don't have uteri.
How many female friends do you have?
None. I mean, well, that's not true. I mean, I would call my coworkers my friends, but I don't know if they would reciprocate that.
Contrary to Amy's version of reality,
your uterus doesn't make your arms swell. Yeah, and if you do look back at the cover shot of Dr. Martin and I flexing, you see that like women have a lot less muscle density in their arms, and that's why
I only flex near women.
Yeah, so make yourself.
I don't flex next to Nils or someone who has more body mass than I do.
Yeah,
we're making Nils out to be like some.
He's like a Nordic beast.
At some point, we have to show Nils.
People
are going to be like, "That's it."
Watch the 100th episode. Nils is all over it.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's on there. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll use a picture of a scar.
There you go. Yeah. But the reason why normal weight people are going to need a brachioplasty is the same reason you need surgery on the rest of your body. Like your skin loses integrity, and there's a lot of gravity effect visible on the arms, and not a lot of muscle to hold it up. I mean, really, the musculature of the arms is more simple. It's in the upper part of the arm than it is in a lot of the rest of the arm. So it's just not as much there to hold it. And when you aren't holding that skin up is when it starts to look crepey and loose, even if your arms are very small.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have lost a lot of weight.
I think brachioplasty needs a PR agent, It
does.
Really does.
Like people think it, but this is it right here.
Yeah.
It's this episode. Yeah.
It's us.
We are.
Is brachioplasty going to pay us for all of our work?
Yes, it actually does. Sure does.
Oh, it does.
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Busted.
So we both clearly picked different clips that Nils you mashed together because
you picked the same one that you did too, but then I just moved yours kind of to the middle.
Yeah, I titled mine when I sent it to Nils. Dr. Martin can't say myths.
Yeah, and I was saying myths, coming from your armpit, which is doesn't sound great.
No, that episode was really good though.
And then also the picture that Nils showed of himself was actually of me at the Tough Mudder. That's what I look like
when you grew your hair out.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had like the rope hair pullback device.
Big tribal necklaces. Yeah, that was a great episode.
Why would you use that picture of me, Nils? Yeah.
Oh man, it's funny because when I listen, I always listen. I'll put the YouTube video on also, but like I like listening, like when I'm walking.
I like watching. That's so funny.
And like hearing some of these things, but then when I went back and watched, like when I was like, oh, this is so satisfying. Like watching that was better than listening to it. So great number 4.
Yeah, we're right on the same page.
We
were talking about we've had like 25 hours of material and we picked out the same thing basically. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is awesome. So now we're back to solos. So my number 3, we got Amy's number 3.
It was such a fun thing to see, like I said, and the guys were so much different than the girls. Like it was, like I said, it was wild, like watching all of that and like seeing completely different like setups for everything. Like it was fun. And to see how into it people get, like there were times that some of these guys walked out and I swear they were Vikings. They walked off of like a Viking ship, like their hair, like their tans, the way they moved. And I was just like, this is insane.
It's so much
like
fun.
Catherine and I are looking at each other just like, did you see that guy? And there was one guy in particular too that I swear he looked like Clark Kent. His face particularly, and then we were like, see, you never know what's going on. He could just rip off that like suit and then he's going off to save the day. And there you go. And he won and I was very excited. We were a little too excited for
Clark
like,
Kent.
We were like, Clark won.
Well, I say that with Scrubs all the time, right? Like no one, I doubt, believes that I had this going on under
exactly.
my Scrubs,
You would never know because that's exactly what we said.
Yeah. So I had to pick a clip with Lexi because we had only one guest this year on the podcast. It was Lexi. And I love the way she talks. And she was like, that is Lexi. She is just energy and happiness and sunshine. And it was so amazing to have her at my show, but then also have her be my fill-in partner for the last podcast.
And she did an amazing job.
She did a really good job.
And that episode in general was just awesome. You have to go back and watch that. It's what's the name on it?
Your best body?
Your best plastic surgery required.
Yeah.
It was the last episode.
Yeah, it was
the last
December
episode.
1st.
Yeah. And there was the first part where you talked about some really touching stuff. It really meant a lot to me. It was so awesome, like listening to the podcast, not being on it and just actually enjoying it as a listener. And the second part, you talk about your experience, which obviously we're all super proud of you, but it was so good.
Oh, thank you. That was fun. Lexi talking about bodybuilders. And I knew immediately who she was talking about when she said Clark Kent, because there literally is this guy, and I've seen him in a couple of local shows. He does look like Clark Kent. Like Did
she talk to her husband about this? She seemed very excited.
You're right. Yeah.
He was excited about him too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good looking guy, wears glasses. I mean, he looks kind of just like a clean cut guy from the neck up, and man, from the neck down, he is 100% bodybuilder.
Yeah,
so
he's got it going on.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Martin. Dr. Martin and Amy's number 2. It's my number 2 and Dr. Martin's number 3. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. Well, so then I have to say something.
This is kind of nuts. This is kind of getting crazy.
Yeah. So
Amy's was shorter, but if it's you would ask for the same.
Totally. I'm going to go look at what we chose.
Well, so
here.
I'm going to lead in on mine. So when I was looking back, I keep a Google Keep of like notes throughout the year. And I was telling Catherine's my assistant, and I said, I have this note that says April 1st, Amy talks about sex. And she goes, oh my gosh, she goes, I know what that was. I'm like, really? And she told me, and I'm like, okay. So then I went back and listened to the episode. I'm like, Catherine, you were right. That is exactly what it was. She's like, it was so funny. Like she remembered this. And I'm like, so the fact that she knew with just my cryptic note of April 1st, Amy talks about sex, was pretty surprising. What's your lead in for this clip? Now that we've gotten that out
I'm
of
just
the way.
so intrigued by your part. I don't know. I'm speechless.
So highlights of the episode.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So this was clearly from the same episode. That's my lead in.
Again, I wish we had the funds to give TLC. Let's talk about sex. Isn't that TLC? Let's talk.
Oh yeah, I thought you meant the network. I'm like the network.
No,
never.
TLC, the band.
Oh, the band.
Salt and pepper?
Salt and pepper. Yeah, thank you so much. It was Salt and Pepper. Let's talk about sex. You and me. Yeah. Okay. I guess number 3, number 2. I'm so confused how we're doing this.
Number 3, number 2.
Okay.
And then we're actually, after this, we're going to take a quick break after we listen to this clip, and then we're going to get what would be, I guess I don't get a number 2. I just get number 1. But you're a number 3 and you're number 2.
Oh man, I'm killing
There's
it
so
right
many
now.
numbers.
I'm winning.
Either way.
Winning.
Big clip, then a break. Okay.
I feel like everyone's wondering what Amy's hair is going to look like each episode. It's either up or And
Usually
somebody asked me recently that she always wear flowers in her hair.
I mean, for the most part, I do.
And I was like, I have no idea because you're basically a family member, and I don't really look at you. You're like if you would consider, do you look at your arm, right? Do you look at your foot very often?
Not very often.
You're like a part of me. So, do you wear flowers every episode or not? I couldn't even tell.
I would say 99% of the time, Nils. Yeah. In fact, I was watching one of our older episodes when I had the black flower, which I have lost, which makes me really sad. I need to get that black flower back, so I'm super bummed. But
so where do you think the black flower is? I mean, where could it be?
Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? I mean, it probably just fell off one day and I didn't notice. But it is a weird thing having curly hair. I was talking to Catherine about this. I'm like, because it surprises even me. Like, I look at it sometimes and I'm like, why are you doing that?
Right.
Like, what is up, hair?
So why don't you just straighten it? That's what curly haired people do. How hard is straightening the hair?
Well, I would never, because like it's not that I dislike the curls. Like, I kind of find them fascinating. But it's just more that like I don't have to do anything to make them do it.
Yeah.
Like, I just wake up and it looks like this, and it's always a little bit surprising.
Who is it? Was one of the stylists you sent me to. They said, well, how do you like your hair? I'm like, whatever I like for my hair, it has to happen in 20 seconds.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever I do, it has to be
fast.
a 20-second routine.
I mean, that's kind of mine. I can't even imagine if I had to actually do something to it. But it is it's
I
weird,
bet you
though.
straightening probably takes a long time.
I mean, like, to see it, like, how does it know to do that? And it like has happened my entire life, and it just keeps doing it.
Yeah, and you're
I mean, like, and one day am I going to just wake up and it's not going to do it anymore? I don't know. So it's life is a mystery.
It is such a mystery.
Yeah.
I don't have the sex talk with people.
I have it with
I barely have it with my kids, so I'm not. Yeah, it's Amy.
Every day. Yep.
Every day.
Every day, pretty much. I mean, and I don't know.
They're
I
like,
usually
Dr. Bro, what about sex? I'm like, you know what? Who's a great person to talk to about this? Amy.
Yep. Talk to her about ED. She's an erection specialist.
Yes.
If you're not having sex, talk to her about that too.
Talk to her about that too.
Mm-hmm. I will help you with all of your sex questions. We're about to get a lot of interesting comments. But hey.
That would be a good episode. Just like, sex and plastic surgery. That would get a lot of hits.
I mean, that's kind of my life.
Yeah.
Like, this is a thing, Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'll tell a funny story about this. So there was a patient, it was a man who'd had a direct excision neck lift. And his wife was here, and like the husband I had been talking about, like, when they could have sex, and the wife was scheduling a next appointment or something. So she was coming back into the room and like said something to me, because like, I don't know, I think she thought he was afraid, but she was asking me about sunscreen. But she was whispering. So I was like, stop with the sex talk. I'm like, did what I say to him like not sink in? Like, it's fine. Like, you're safe to do it. So I go back in and I'm like going over all this again. And then she's like, and what about sunscreen? I'm like, oh, like that's what she said to me in the hallway, sunscreen.
So she's like, what is this? Dr. Martin's office just talking about sex the whole time.
Well, she wasn't in for the first part of the conversation, but I'm like, it's totally fine. Like, you are safe. Like, you're not going to hurt anything. Like, I literally was like going on and on with this person, and he was just sitting there like just letting me say all this. And
I would too.
Yeah.
I would
like,
just watch you flounder around.
Right. I'm like, oh gosh. I'm like, it's fine. It's safe. Yeah. So yeah.
All right.
I'm not like, ask me any of your plastic surgery related sex questions and I will be able to answer them.
We're definitely having an episode about sex. All right.
We got the one about ED.
Yeah. No, don't do it.
My magic works too. Yeah. You're usually the one doing mine works too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was the funniest thing. It was, yeah. And the fact that Catherine remembered this from like 8 months prior, I'm like, wow, that really must have been a thing. Yep. I like that yours was the curly hair. I mean, this morning, like on my yoga mat, like there was a little spiral, like one hair had like curled itself into this teeny tiny little curly cue. I'm like, what? Like,
your daily trials and tribulations about your body, your hair, and lifestyle and everything else, or my pure enjoyment in life. And when you talk about your hair, the flowers, the everything, it's always this kind of process.
Yeah.
So it makes me happy.
There you go.
Those are always my favorite parts.
And surprisingly enough, I mean, that was at the very end of this episode. So either nobody listened to the end of that episode and did not ask me all of their sex questions, or they just don't have any. So, fair enough.
Yeah, but
either way.
Amy is a sex therapist. She talks to everyone about sex.
I do. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. And then we'll be back with whatever numbers are left. At this point, I have no idea. And Nils Mashup.
It could be 5. It could be 1. It could be 2.
Pretty sure both of us have a number 1 left, but I'm not even sure.
Okay.
All right. All right, we're back. We're back with Dr. Martin's number 2.
Yeah.
We've gotten the numbers figured out. We're good.
So now I'm all caught up. I know what we're doing now. Okay. So this is from one of our listener question episodes.
They're always so good.
Yeah, which are basically my favorite types of episodes we do. And I think that for us, for you and I, this affirms everything we're doing. We love this podcast. We love working with Nils and Sarah. And most important, we love the interactions we get from people. And they talk about all the surgeries they're doing. And we get extremely excited. I want everyone to understand this. Like when you write us and tell us you're doing surgery, we're pumped for you. And if we can help in any way, awesome. So, and hopefully we can help in a small way with this. So this is from one of those listener question episodes.
All right.
I think Amy makes the point that I was going to make, which she always does first, is that in reality, in the recovery period, it's really hard to judge what's going on. There's so many things that can occur during surgery that can lead to these weird presentations. I mean, just by mere fact of us moving tissues around and putting retractors in, it can push on nerves and cause a neuropraxia. It doesn't mean the nerve is cut, but it just means the nerve is stunned. Mm-hmm. We get that a lot. Mm-hmm. Just by boving or cauterizing around it, you may partially injure that nerve, but it's not fully cut. It's rare.
Just tumescing.
Right. Yep. Just the tumescent itself, when you put the cannula in, can hit the nerve.
And numb it.
And cause a neuropraxia, cause damage, cause a hematoma around it. You can have bleeding around the nerve, which is inflammatory, so the nerve doesn't work well. There's so many different reasons this could occur. We've had people that have numbness on the back of their head just from being under general anesthesia for a long time. We put them on a donut. We make sure that they don't have any pressure there, but still they can have numbness there. So it's hard to judge at 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I think 4 weeks, 6 weeks is where you really start to say, okay, this is what we're dealing with.
I would even say, I mean, really, 2 months would be where I would kind of, the acute period of inflammation, kind of let that go down.
Yeah, swelling can do a lot of things.
And put pressure on things. So at 2 weeks, though, it's so hard to judge even, what could be causing something. The great part is, and that's why I told her too, that her surgeon is in communication with her. And I think that is really key. We talked about that in our episode about unanticipated outcomes. The big thing is that you communicate that with your surgeon, go to your follow-up appointments, continue having that conversation.
Yep.
Because even if, in worst case scenario, let's say a nerve, it would be unusual in that part of the head was completely knocked out. There's still a good conversation to be had there. It doesn't mean you just stop talking about it.
Right.
And that I think is, to me, I think that's also the benefit of going to a board certified plastic surgeon. They're going to continue working with you. They're going to hold your hand through this, hopefully. And
yeah, they're going to be professional because our job is to take care of you. Yep. Right. And so your surgeon you went to wants you to have a good outcome, does care. The fact that you've been talking with them is such a net positive. Mm-hmm. All right. So let's test Nils real quick. If you cut a nerve, Nils, okay, and then you sew it back together, or say it's partially cut. And a nerve is like an electrical wire. Just imagine the ones outside. It has a covering on it, like plastic covering. Obviously, it's not plastic in your body. We know that, right? And then there's stuff on the inside which are axons. And so there's a lot of little axons in there, or it's not just one filament. How on a normal size facial nerve, if you put it back together, how long does it take for it to grow through it? How far will it grow per day? Does it grow a centimeter? Does it grow
per day?
A millimeter? Does it grow a foot? What's your guess?
Oh, it would be a little bit. I would say a millimeter.
That's right. Yeah. So that's what, when they do board tests and stuff like that, it's a millimeter a day. And you'll see, so if her nerve was that specific nerve, which it wasn't, I think this is just swelling and surgery. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if it was cut, you would see every day you would have a little bit more improvement if you support your recovery. When the nerve, so you cut your nerve, right? The nerve has an outside sheath and stuff on the inside. When you cut it, it's still active on the good side, which comes from your brain, and it comes from the
spinal cord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the power source.
What it does is it keeps the outside sheath on the distal end, and then it starts to replace it on the inside. Isn't that crazy? So it uses the outside sheath as a conduit.
Yep, to pull itself across.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you get nerve that's cut on both sides, and so a piece of it, all you have to do is sew in a conduit from one end to the other, and then it grows through.
Yep, it'll jump.
Like centimeters, like inches. Yeah. So they do that all the time in reconstructive surgery. Irma, I can feel very confident just by reading these couple paragraphs that a lot of your sensations will come back. Maybe not all of it, but a lot of it will. And secondly, that you're doing great. So keep your head up. No reason for crying emojis. You can give the emoji, which I like to do, which is biceps. Pulleys. Give the pulley emoji.
Mm-hmm.
I give that to everyone. It's totally not. It's a non sequitur when I do it too. It's like, hey, what are you doing this morning? I'm going out to brunch. Pulley emoji.
You're just flexing. That's what you're just
I
saying.
Just flex all the time.
Yeah, you're just hard flexing on everybody.
I'm getting some gas.
Yeah, flexing. You gotta start using the robot flexing.
Picking up the dogs.
Yeah. Flexing. All right, Irma. Thank you so much and so glad you're happy with your facelift. That's awesome. We love to hear that. So that was great because now people will understand why we ask for pulley emojis.
Yeah, but like Nils added all the pulley emojis, which was awesome.
You should start using the robot arm.
So I picked that out because number one, I love what you say always. You're such a good guide. And also I love when I try to teach Nils. And Nils is getting to the point where he's almost at fellow level. Mm-hmm. So if we do this another 10 years, Nils will be my partner in plastic surgery.
Yeah. No, well, here's a good question then, Nils. Do you know what that sheath is called that covers the axons in a nerve cell?
I do not.
It's called the myelin sheath. Myelin. Mm-hmm.
Anything in medicine just has to have a complicated name to make people feel bad about it.
The myelin sheath. Yeah. Well, Dr. Martin, that was an excellent one. So my number one, it was so tough. And both of us took a while to get our number one to Nils. And the problem was I had so many good ones. And I'm like, okay, I finally had to just say, there is an episode that we reference almost in all other episodes this entire year after we recorded it. And it was the New Beauty Guide, How to Choose Your Surgeon. So I'm like, well, then obviously that needs to be my number one clip. So that is my number one because it, to me, was probably the podcast episode that if you listen to one episode and you are considering plastic surgery, that should be the episode you listen to before you listen to any specific surgery episode.
Oh, that's interesting.
Listen to that episode first and then start listening to the deep dive on facelift or the deep dive on breast aug or whatever it is you want to do. But that is the foundation. Like that is where you should start. And that is why this clip is my number one.
Numero uno.
So like I said, I was at the very, very back and I saw this little thing that says, "Know before you go." And it said this: not every doctor is equipped to perform every single aesthetic treatment, nor should they. Therefore, choosing the right doctor can be overwhelming. Use this handy guide to help figure out which board-certified specialist to see for your chosen procedure. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not the only one shouting from the rooftops on every episode.
God, if we have to hear that one more time for you, thank God a national publication is saying it too.
So I read it. I'm like, well, this is amazing. So we're going to go through this. It's very short, such great stuff. So we're going to go through what is out there in like pop culture world, right? This is marketed toward patients, prospective patients who are considering one of these aesthetic procedures. All right. So let's first talk about plastic surgeons. These are the people in your neighborhood.
Who they be? Who are those plastic surgeons?
Yes. So board certified or plastic surgeons, who are they? Head to toe specialists performing surgical procedures and non-surgical procedures for the face and body. And that's kind of key when we start talking about facial plastic and oculoplastic. They might work from the neck up. Plastic surgeons, when people's like, what does your doctor do? I'm like, head to toe. Like we do everything. In fact, we have a really old podcast episode that probably doesn't even have a video that's head to toe surgery.
It's audio.
In theory, plastic surgeons are head to toe. So what they do is almost any aesthetic procedure and have extensive training and education.
Right.
So talk about the education, Dr. Martin.
Education for plastic surgeons is one of the longest of all subsurgical specialties. The only ones longer or about the same are neurosurgery.
Which is amazing because those people work on the brain.
And maybe
and
cardiovascular surgery. So the education, the training is pretty long and rigorous. There's two ways to go into plastic surgery. You can match right in from medical school, or you can do general surgery first and then do plastic surgery afterwards. The direct match is what's more common now. I came up at a time when most people went through general surgery first. And so you'll see a lot of plastic surgeons are double board certified in both general surgery and plastic surgery too, which is good because general surgery has applicability in all aspects of surgery. I
think one of the main things that I think was so special about your training in general surgery is that you see a lot more than what we see. Like we do. You're an adjunct professor now, so we see residents coming through the plastics program, some of whom have general surgery training, some of whom do not. And the difference in kind of like their outlook on medicine is pretty drastic.
Yeah, and their competence level. It doesn't mean that in the end they can't all be the same or good.
Right, same plastic surgery level, but I just mean like general overall
and understanding of
doctor.
Medicine and sickness and everything else.
Yeah, just a little different. So in New Beauty, it does say that, of course, medical school, and then a 2 or 5 year surgical residency in general surgery, and an additional 2 to 3 years of plastic surgery training residency or 6 years of plastic surgery training residency. So like Dr. Morrow was saying, like there is the direct
I did more
course.
because I'm an idiot. So
as well as ongoing.
I was trying to go for the record.
Yeah. Oh, somebody though. That's the person who just keeps their student loans in deferment until the day they die. Yeah. As well as ongoing continuing education during their career, which is true. We have to maintain a certain amount of continuing education credits throughout the life of you as a surgeon.
Think about that real quick. I went through undergrad, was 4 years. Okay. And then I did 4 years of medical school and 7 years of training.
It's really highly specialized training.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was I thinking?
Right.
It really did me well, but that's a huge sacrifice in life. It's a lot of training. I don't think training equates to talent
or competency,
but I don't know if I'm in a plane and the pilot, I know, you know what I'm saying? I mean, seriously.
Maybe not just the bare minimum.
Right. I'll take the more trained person first, and then we can deduce out if they're good or not. So
exactly. And something else that the board requires is that you actually re-up your certification every 10 years. So you actually had to do that in 2018.
And I had to take a test.
Yep. And you'll have to do it again in 2028.
And
that is
killed it.
Required.
I passed.
Yeah. And it's big. So the American board. The board and societies for board certified plastic surgeons are the Aesthetic Society and or the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. There are two. We do a whole episode on why board certification matters. So if you want more in depth about just plastic surgery, be sure to watch that episode. They can also be members of the American Board of Plastic Surgery, American Osteopathic Board of Surgery, which we have one of the residents is going to do that. He's going to do osteopathic.
Yeah, DO.
Yep. And primary certification in plastic surgery and the Royal College of Surgeons and Surgeons of Canada.
Oh, by the way, there's amazing plastic surgeons in other countries. Yeah. There are some really good national societies in some of these countries that are rigorous. And, you know, plastic surgery is a field that's been around a long time. It didn't really become in vogue until the 1900s, but it's an amazing field that's rich in training and everything else like that. So,
yeah. So something I did not bring up on this episode is I had to say otolaryngologist about 8,000 times. And up until that point, like that word was like, I feel like my nemesis. And I had to just like really.
I think it has like 20 syllables.
Oh my goodness. And like you see it on the page and you're like, that isn't even a human word.
Don't you hate words like that? Like, you know, you're intelligent, but you just don't want to say it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Like otolaryngologist. But I feel like that episode cured me of that.
Right.
She says now.
Right.
So I have to pat myself on the back for making it through an episode where I had to say,
told you, you're like King's Speech.
Otolaryngologist more times than a person should ever have to say
Yes. And that episode was great. I didn't focus on that episode, but it is so important for you to watch that first. Very smart. Really good recommendation.
It's amazing. It talks not only about plastic surgeons, it talks about otolaryngologists. It talks about dermatologists and cosmetic dentists. It's really good.
So it's funny because I'm laughing at our picks because we've gotten so much better at this. It's actually a lot more watchable, a lot more information. Actually, our picks are more informational than they were just us messing up.
Well, you've managed to find some clips of me that are far from educational.
Yeah, but they're funny. They're funny. You're not messing up. They're entertaining.
They're entertaining.
That's what the kids want. Okay.
All right.
So my last one, I'm very excited about. I think this represents the ethos of what we're doing. It's also my muse right here, who I think really has a great way with words. So this is my choice for number one is Amy.
If this is a rap of Nils just making me say otolaryngologist over and over and over again.
It's actually this one is very meaningful. This one is very meaningful.
All right. So Dr. Ryan's number one. So when is the answer yes? I mean, this is awesome, right? Like there is nothing better than somebody coming in and having a very obvious thing they don't like, right? Not saying we don't like it, saying they don't like it. They have skin that hangs over their abdomen that they don't like. They have facial aging. They have arm skin. You know what? Yes. And that we do the surgery, they move on with their life. Life is good. Okay. That is the best case scenario. We love that. The other times people come in and they think nothing can be done, right? They're like, or they have resigned themselves, stage of life, that perhaps they don't maybe deserve to push their body as far as it can go, right? We had a consultation with a patient last week who didn't want a full tummy tuck because they were concerned about the scar, but would be okay with a mini tummy tuck based on what they had been told by other surgeons, which was kind of ridiculous, right? As we've talked about many times on our podcast, the surgery you need is the surgery you need. And we're not going to tell someone, okay, yeah, get the mini because you don't want the scar, right? It's not going to fix her issue. And I straight up said that to this patient. This will not resolve the problems that you have. So getting this surgery that is a mini tummy tuck because you, in your mind, are convinced this scar that is maybe this long, 6-7 inches long versus this long is somehow going to alter your life, when you could get like full resolution of everything that's going on in your abdomen with that little bit longer scar. Why wouldn't you do that? Like, go all the way. Like, don't just halvesy this. This is a person who was so concerned with their abdominal skin that they were concerned about it in intimate situations, or felt fine, wearing a 2-piece maybe when they were standing, but as soon as they sat down, they were super self-conscious. Like, well, then why wouldn't you just go all the way and fix this all the way? Like, the rest of your body is banging. Like, you look incredible. You have a husband with a 6-pack. Like, so a couple more inches of scar is going to be the difference between you having like an absolutely flat, completely flat abdomen, and you may be getting a little bit of a fix on the lower abdomen, but having this upper abdomen that's still all kind of wonky and weird, and like, is that worth it? No. So there are definitely times where people think that they can maybe not push the envelope as far as they can. It's so true. It's very true.
No, there's no wiser words spoken. I think you really broke it down. And that's the real main gist of what we're trying to get across. I mean, education makes the biggest difference, and you got to be smart about your decisions. Mm-hmm. And that's really what you were saying there. And I love that. Oh. And that makes me very proud of this podcast that we're doing. Also, I just like looking at my bobblehead, because apparently I don't have to work. I just put my bobblehead in the situation. Can I bring the bobblehead home and take a day off from family life? Put the bobblehead in the OR.
Right.
Yeah.
Might not work in the OR, but it might work at home.
Yeah, that's true.
Listen,
don't talk to Dad right now. Just talk to the bobblehead.
Like he's having quiet time.
All right, I love it.
Oh, those were so good. All right, well, now we've reached the point in the episode,
our favorite part,
that I literally love. And last year, Nils, like you put the mashup out as its own little like episode clip, which I loved because I go back and watch it all the time.
I love that.
So.
Heart
Nils,
emoji.
We're going to turn it over to you to talk about your mashup.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of like lay it out because I did a little bit different this year. We've been doing this for a while. And as you guys know, when we started, you guys have always had really good information, but it took you a little while to get your podcast.
A little while.
I mean? Yeah. Just like getting your banter down, your humor down. I mean, it was always coming. You know what I mean? When I was editing every episode this year, I realized that in every episode, there's a great example of how far you two have come of just being awesome podcasters, right? So then I just made it a point that every time I, put an episode together, I would just be kind of keeping my mind out for something that either is funny or just a great exchange, or just the things that make this fun to do week after week, right? So that's it. So it's basically a clip from every single episode in a row.
I love it.
Right? And then at the end, there's a couple of quick ones that are just, they're so laugh out loud moments. I just had to put them in. They're short, they're really quick, but there are a couple of times you got me so good you can just hear me belt from the background. So that's,
which is pretty much my goal in every episode, is to make you laugh.
That's one of the clips. So that's what I did for the mashup this year. Take it away.
All right, here we go.
A couple times a year, people come in with chin implants.
Whew, yep, getting used to the arms. Whew, scared myself.
I know Nils is going to cut that, but that was actually
that was
really
scary. So, Dr. Martin, will you accept this challenge?
100%. I'm accepting this challenge. Is this something that I could be number one in? Yes.
Yes. This is literally yours. Yes.
Can I win this?
You are literally the only person on earth who can win this.
I know.
Yes. So only you can win this.
I'm going to kick my own ass.
Yes. All right. Myth number 6.
You should get the same size implants as your friend, sister, your cousin, your friend's cousin's sister,
your boyfriend's,
or this one woman that you saw at the gym. Yep. You're not sure what her name is, but her breasts look good.
We just send you to space camp, like send you to space camp for a summer instead.
When I was young, space camp was the place.
Yeah,
that was the place. If you were over 40, you know what space camp's all about in Alabama.
What was that movie where the kids...
Oh, there was a movie there.
It was called Space Camp.
And they went into space.
Love that.
Maybe.
I'm not going to think of Nils as our audience. Remember the COVID days when we had a podcast without anybody here?
I mean, if you watch this long enough, you know I basically try to make jokes and then look at Nils and see if he laughs. Okay, so that's all I do. That's basically my job.
To make Nils laugh?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then maybe talk about some information that people might care about. Did she watch the video where we're going to have the toilet? How do you say it when you're not from Kentucky, please?
Toilet. We don't add an R.
There's no R in there.
There is no R in toilet.
T-O-I-L-E-T.
Yes, toilet.
It's a toilet extender with our logo on it and my name, but I would like the name in very prominent letters, maybe hot pink.
Which is arm lift myths, but arm lift myths is harder to say than brachioplasty myths.
Arm lift mist.
Myths. So, yeah. So we have 10 myths to go over today. It's hard to say.
You said it slowly, didn't you?
Yeah, right.
No, I didn't even get it right. I said mist.
And you were thinking about it.
I don't have the sex talk with people.
I have it with
I barely had it with my kids, so I'm not. Yeah. That's Amy.
Every day. Yep.
Every day.
Every day.
Our patients are really happy with the results. We love what we're doing now. I don't know why I'm hamming dog. It's what I'm making a point.
I know. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I got my fist in the air, like I'm about to start a revolt.
Right. Get your liposuction now. Liposuction for life.
Come on, you can do it.
So if you have something that your body is fighting, like your little free radical is here, an antioxidant comes along. Here's the magic school bus.
I wish you guys could watch this if you're listening to this on a podcast.
Attaches to it and takes care of it, but then it's gone. This bump.
Bump on my nose. I would like my nose narrower.
Mm-hmm.
Narrower.
That is a word. Narrower.
Okay.
Narrower. I know. It's one of those things.
It doesn't sound like a word.
Narrower.
Narrower.
If you made it to the end of this podcast, leave us a pulley emoji. You'll know what that is if you're an OG. Leave us a pulley. We got we're actually getting some pulley now.
Those little potatoes over here.
Yeah, all right.
Little
baby.
Go over. Get it earlier rather than later. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Ooh, if you guys hear that,
that is crazy.
Apparently there is some big thunder.
We just had a huge thundering, or it's World War III. Someone's very angry about our mommy makeover tape.
Welcome to summer in Colorado. How you doing?
Good. Episode 150, Amy. 150 episodes.
Sad to say I don't have a crown for this milestone.
I know.
For episode 200.
Brush my shoulders off.
Yeah.
150. Let's do some streamers. Let's get some editing in this joint. Yeah.
I think it's we've talked about this before, like how ridiculous that difference is in age. Whoa. Wow. Let's pause.
So if I was ever to get a tattoo, I would think about it pretty long and hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's just, it's still surgery.
You have a tattoo? No.
I have what?
Remember from our 100th episode? What did you say to Nils when you first met him? Like you're like super educated, but you got all these prison tattoos?
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. Evaluation, I think it's called flow cytometry, F-L-O-W cytometry.
You spell flow. I think most people know how to spell flow. Spell cytometry.
I didn't want to spell cytometry. Isn't that funny?
Michelle, and Michelle's in the UK, which I love.
My wife loves the UK. She loves England. She loves Wales. She loves Scotland. She loves Ireland.
When was the last time she was there?
Like, I don't know if she's ever been there.
Oh. No, like maybe like 140, you know?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. At some point, we got to cut this off. Like, it's been a good ride.
140, do you imagine if we're still doing the podcast then? No?
Yeah.
But if we have this same body, like your point being, like if we could maintain the healthness.
Right.
The healthness, that's a new word. I've created healthness.
Okay. Just want everyone to know I made the NBA during that intermission.
Yeah. See, I knew you could do it.
Yeah.
I believed.
I felt like I could do it.
Are you maybe the oldest member of the active roster on the NBA?
That's very hurtful. It hurts my feelings. Are we being honest today?
Yes.
Amy? Okay.
But I've heard, Dr. Martin, that the deep plane facelift has less downtime. Or is better for young people.
All right.
Or is magic.
Well, you just be quiet.
But definitely listen to some of our previous episodes where we talk about
we have tons.
Recovery, also can fat predict your age and how to age like a Hollywood superstar, address a lot of the kind of common misconceptions and facelift myths that people have. We have a whole episode about facelift myths. Can't with the words. Myths.
What word is that?
Myths.
Mist? Is it a facelift mist?
Myths.
Okay, myth.
They're the myths.
Yeah. I'm in surgery. I control all the details. And I'm in this cocoon, this incubator, doing my work, and everyone get out of my way. And people come in, I'm like, you can't come in my room. Like, I have total control. And then I get out, I have no control.
Well, you don't.
And then I go to Costco, and I'm absolutely angry. Like, why am I so angry right now? Because I have no control of anything that's going on. So, by the way, if you're a very OCD type A person, young, listening to this podcast, the best thing to go into is surgery. Right?
Oh, you mean as a profession?
It's a profession.
I thought you were talking
about
use
Costco
all
your
still.
negative
I'm like,
personality traits.
Yeah. Like don't go to Costco. Yeah.
All right.
very first thing you should be prepared for at this appointment is they will take pre-op photos.
With most likely
no clothes on.
off. Yeah.
Yep, you will absolutely be naked from the waist down. You'll be Winnie the Pooh. So be ready for that. These are part of your medical history.
I just got that.
Right, Donald Duck.
Yep. That is very funny. Like they didn't put any pants on him. Yeah. This is sure.
Deep suture extrusion is something that can happen. Like because we do so many layers. Deep suture extrusion. Deep suture extrusion.
Hey, no Kentucky jokes.
I mean, apparently I become Southern when I say that.
Man, when you get a deep suture extrusion,
it's not good. She would come to me with like a question that had two options, and she would present those two options to me, and I would look at her and I'd just say, Catherine, I don't care. Because like I genuinely just like couldn't even get the brain power to even care. And I think that was surprising to her because, as you know, I give a fuck about everything. So for me to be like, don't care, genuinely don't care, like you pick.
It's very shocking to hear her say that.
Because I care immensely about everything. And so I think that for sure, Nils noticed that my cadence and my ability to like come back and like have, normal human thoughts definitely decreased. Definitely did. Even in cases where you're doing more of a debulking surgery, is not the goal to lose weight. I said that in the most backwards way ever. English is my first language.
The bobblehead has an ego. You got to fill it a little bit,
He needs his screen time.
He needs a little screen time.
It's been a while. I know you love when I talk about swimming, but if summer and or winter activities are extremely important to you,
I'm quitting this podcast.
There are women who have multiple children. My favorite is a woman who had 10 children. 10 children that she gave birth to.
She lived in a shoe, actually.
Yeah. This is where it's the most important thing. Someone you feel comfortable with.
I feel comfortable with you. Can you do my breast augmentation?
Sure can. We're going to do that right after. Nils is going to do your anesthesia. It's going to be a good time. Where only we get the joke.
Yeah. Ow, that hurts.
Got to do all my things, right? Yeah, all my trademarks. Bobblehead, hit him in the shoulder. Let's chink some cups while we're at it. We're doing all the things. This is like, there are benefits of watching to the end of our podcast. You get to watch the antics. All right, everyone.
That was amazing.
There you go.
That was absolutely amazing.
I'll take care of all the funny little parts. You guys can get more serious with it.
No. That's so
my gosh, when the tile fell.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't know what was going on.
No, I had no idea. No, I never did. Like you guys are all looking around like, what just happened?
Tile fell from the sky. Yeah, or from right behind us. So, oh my goodness, Nils, that was so good.
Thanks, guys. Another fun year. So many good parts. Like I said, one from every episode at least. I mean, I pulled out like 3 or 4, and then I realized it's going to be like 25 minutes long. So I was like, pick one of each, and I had to leave some on the floor.
Oh, I love it. You're so talented with this stuff too.
Seriously, the editing is awesome, and those are, things that are fundamental to the podcast now is the pulley emoji.
Yep.
And the cups cheering and. In 2 weeks on January 1st, we're going to be answering some questions from you listeners, which is, as you can see from our choices, many of our choices this year were episodes where you guys were the questions. So yeah, we love those episodes. Be sure to leave us a voicemail if you are so inclined, which is the number right below, 303-630-9038. Dr. Martin, you got any final parting thoughts for 2023?
No, it was a good year. I feel like we're all heading in the right direction.
We said this at the end of 2019.
Did. I'm going to retract what I just said. It was an okay year. It could be better. Is that better to say it like that? Okay.
Like things could get worse. We're positive.
One of the things I've noticed is that we're getting really more intricate questions on our videos and on the podcast itself and on the voicemails and stuff. And we really, really appreciate that because it means that people are actually watching and listening all the way through and thinking about, hey, how does this affect me? Hey, what do I need to do for this upcoming surgery I want to do? Hey, I don't like this. How can I fix this? What's the best way to do it? That's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. I know Amy and I are dedicated to that, and even so is Nils. Okay, even though he doesn't do this for a living, he has a passion for what we're doing, that we're trying to get out good information. So I'm just so excited. I love every bit of that. And I could literally watch a streaming show of just you saying and doing funny things.
Otolaryngologist. I'm going to wrap out.
It just makes me so happy. I wonder if other people listening, watching this feel the same way I do.
I doubt it.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so much. We will be back in 2024 with some great questions from you, the listeners.
We gotta click our.
Until then, we gotta turn your beauty in the search and forward,
here,
Dr.
wait,
Martin.
one second. We're
Yeah.
merchandise.
Cheers it out.
Cheers it out. Thank you guys so much.